Welcome back to Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization's Roundtable. You got Kelly, Jen, Derek here. Thought we'd come back on some of the more recent things that have actually taken place with Bigfoot Captured just coming on and airing this week, and Kelly and Jen and RMSO in general being a little bit a part of that. We wanted to talk about that a little bit. And we were going to talk about the 77 sighting location on a general, like a whole, everything that has really kind of happened, just circling around just that sighting location itself. Specifically, what's bringing this to fruition is our most recent eye shine video that happened not too long ago that we decided we'd like to talk about. Explain a little bit more and give you guys a bigger, broader picture of just how much really happens in this area and why it's someplace we go back to and frequent quite a bit. That being said, I think we ought to start it off with Kelly giving us a little bit of background on some of the different things that have actually happened within the location itself. So,
a lot of people say, why do you go to this place? The Bigfoot encounter happened 100 years ago. Why do you go there? It happened 10 years ago. We really don't care when it happened. We want to see the area the Bigfoot sighting happened, and a lot of these places we go into have more than just the sighting location that we're tracking down at the time. For instance, the 77 sighting location that we refer to on the south side of the Uinta Mountains. It's had so many sightings in it that by the 70s it got nicknamed Sasquatch Canyon. So we call it Sasquatch Canyon even to this day because I think it was our third expedition into the area. We finally tracked down and found the 77 sighting location, and about 600 yards from where that happened, we found one of the best footprints we've ever found, and we've found quite a few trackways since then. This was about 4 years ago that this all went down, and so we keep coming back to the location. We've located a really large structure. We've seen where they've actually added to the structure in the past since we have found it. And then just recently, it was in September during the archery season, a rancher that lives in the area, he got a hold of us and said, hey, that guy seen Bigfoot today. He come running into the gas station and just telling everybody that he had just seen a Bigfoot. And this was near the mouth of Sasquatch Canyon that he saw this Bigfoot. It was a noon sighting, and it was an overcast day, and it had been storming the night before and a little bit that morning, so a nice cool day. But it was a daylight sighting, even though it was overcast. So he gets a hold of us the next day, and we all made arrangements with our work to get off of work and get up there as soon as possible. So we were up there 2 days after it happened, and what we really wanted to do was we wanted to collect game cameras that we use in the general area and move them in closer to where this sighting happened. So when we got up there, it was already night, and we went on a nighttime hike to collect these cameras. We usually do our night hikes around a full moon to help us out, help our cameras out, safety or whatever. But because of the circumstances, we wanted those cameras now, and we wanted to get them in closer to where this happened. So on a no moon night, dark as hell, we go into the structure area of the 77 sighting location to collect these cameras. And crossing the river, we choose a beaver dam to cross, stay dry. And we're crossing, and we're all smelling a skunky BO smell. Here's something moving in the water on the right side of us.
about within 50 feet or so of us. It was pretty dang close.
Derek got a camera on it really quick, an IR camera, but we didn't pick anything up. And then we move up into the woods, and it was kind of an uncomfortable situation, especially because when we got up near the last game camera in this area to collect, something did a low guttural growl at us off into the darkness. The entire team heard it, and Derek actually was the closest to it, and he kept an IR camera in the direction. Well, before this growl actually happened, when we got back and went over the footage to put out, our expedition video of the thing, we captured eye shine. Something was watching us pick up that camera, and we caught the eye shine for a little while, and the eye shine was down in the draw a little bit, so if it was standing on the ground, it was pretty tall. But I noticed that later on, a minute or two later, when we got the growl, it was off in the same direction where it was off in the same direction that the eye shine came from. And Derek, while I was collecting the camera, he had an uneasy feeling coming from that direction.
I was on point the whole time.
So he walked off that way, actually filming. He was the closest to it when it made that low guttural growl.
It made me step back a couple. Scared. It was actually pretty cool.
So the entire area has a history of Bigfoot sightings, and around that 77 sighting location, we spend a lot of time because we have found a lot of corroborating evidence to a Bigfoot in the area, like the footprints, one of the best footprints that we've ever found.
You didn't even bring up the whole experience that went down when you were actually getting that footprint.
Yeah,
the whole
that was
time
creepy.
waiting for that thing to set up, and I mean that's probably the best bluff charge you've ever had.
Yeah,
Would you not agree?
it was.
Yeah, it's the closest I've ever had a bluff charge come to me, and it was pretty nerve-wracking. Yeah, when we discovered the footprint, we had been hiking around the 77 sighting location a little bit, and we headed down the river. We wanted to check out a beaver pond and stuff. I've noticed that a lot of Bigfoot sightings happen around beaver ponds. Know someone personally that's seen one near a beaver pond. So Jenny and I went down into the willows to check out the pond near this area, and we get down in the willows near the riverbed, and the ground just kind of shakes, and you hear a thump. And I'm just thinking, God, what's down in these willows that's so heavy that's going to shake the ground? And I thought maybe it was a moose. So I turned back to Jenny, and I'm like, keep your eye open for a moose, And we cross onto the other side, and as we're crossing the river, we can smell some type of a stench. And we both comment about it. And then we get across the river, and Jenny immediately finds the footprints. And it's kind of in the gravel part of the riverbed, and it's
Top of our homepage, RMSO.net.
well, no, this isn't the footprint that we got a picture of. This one wasn't that great.
Oh.
The first one that she found wasn't that great, and she's like, look, and I'm like, oh yeah, that could be this and that. It was just iffy, the material it was in and everything. And we start looking around further, and right by the river is where we found where it sunk in 5 inches. And while we're checking all that out and just mesmerized by it, I spotted the next one across the river. And so we started checking out the whole trackway, and what it looked like it leaped the river, and where it actually landed across the river after jumping 15 feet, that's where it sunk in 5 inches. That was the deep one where, you couldn't deny the toes. I was kind of in shock because, in the past we had found suspect footprints, and you're just always like questioning them. They're not that deep. They just didn't look as good as this. And then how much it sunk in. And I kept jumping off the riverbank down next to it, and I could only sink in like 1/4 of an inch. I'm 200 pounds, and I was jumping down next to it. Bam! It took a lot of force for it to sink in as deep as it did. hiking one more time up onto the riverbank where we found the first footprints. Well, we decided to cast it. We had some foam to use as casting, and don't ever use foam, it sucks. So anybody that ever says use foam, just stick with plaster or dental cast. But anyway, we cast it, and while we were waiting for it to set up, we're kind of kicking back. Something starts charging the tree line. And it's rumbling, making all kinds of ruckus towards the tree line up above us. And I kind of step into the clearing between some willows to get a good look, because I was expecting a moose or an elk coming down to drink down at this creek. And whatever it is doesn't break the tree line. It stops at the tree line, staying out of sight, and it starts pacing back and forth and snapping stuff off and just stomping around, and I guess a bluff charge. And we sat there and put up with it for 5-10 minutes, whatever it was. It kept it up. And it was a really cold, humid day. It was, just August? No, excuse me. It was April. It was towards the beginning of spring. Finally, I'm like, let's go up and check it out. And Jenny was kind of like, well, I didn't bring my gun. It's one of the few times that we've been out that neither of us had a firearm. But we did have a little bit of bear mace. We had the joggers bear mace, the little teeny 4-ounce bottle or whatever it is. But anyway, I wanted to go check it out.
So they had nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah. We hiked up to where it was stomping around to look for evidence and to see if we could see what the hell was doing this. I mean, doesn't necessarily mean it was Bigfoot just because we found Bigfoot prints down below. But I had to see. So her and I hike up to where it was at, and you heard it quietly, trying to be quiet, move back deeper in the draw and hide from us. And then we checked the area, and yeah, it had smashed down grass, and tree branches had been broken off and stuff, but there just wasn't any bare soil or anything up there to take a good footprint. But it really smashed down the grasses and stuff. So we spent about 40 minutes, half hour, whatever it was, looking for it back in this draw. Finally, we decided, it was actually getting pretty late. We didn't find this footprint until about like 4 in the afternoon. And it gets dark, completely dark at 6 p.m. this time of year. So this cast is only supposed to take a half hour to set up because everything's cold and humid. 2 hours later, it was still like sticky. And the sun's going down and everything. But yeah, we come back down to it, waiting for it to set up. And whatever it was that went and hid from us and got all quiet, it charged the tree line again and started pacing back and forth, doing what it had done the first time. So as the sun went down, we dug up the cast and we got out of there. How did you feel? I know that you weren't too happy about staying there after dark after it.
No, I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy the whole time. It was my first real experience being scared, thinking that I was going to get trampled or whatever. It wasn't a really pleasant experience.
And we're talking about a 17-inch footprint or so?
Yeah, it was 17 inches in length, and at the widest point where the toes had splayed, I believe it was about 8 inches wide, and it averaged about 7 inches wide most of the footprints.
So it's a pretty big animal.
So that's our very first experience there, and it was our third time there. I mean, we'd been there a couple of times prior, but it's the first time that we found anything or anything happened to us. And so anyway, this was back in September, just 2 months ago, that we had this last experience 2 days after the sighting, and we'll put the clips of the video of the eye shine there. Also on a day investigation there, Jenny and I captured on our camera a really good vocalization. We'll put this vocalization on there. It sounded to me on like a T-Rex, like on the Land of the Lost movie, whatever, when you were a kid, or like a Godzilla thing. I mean, it's a pretty good vocalization, and I've heard that vocalization a couple of times in my Bigfooting. That was one of them, and the camera caught it, luckily. But when we were shooting the scene for Bigfoot Captured, when Jenny and I were up there, we heard that vocalization, and the crew heard it also. I guess their camera didn't pick it up because they dubbed in a cow mooing or something, it sounded like, in the background. But that was really strange. When we were with the production company up there shooting a scene up in Palisades, where we had a possible Bigfoot encounter up there the year before. That's why they approached us to do this, is because of a video that we put out about what happened back in there. But anyway, we just got back from lunch and stuff, and some of the crew members come up to me and said, "Hey, there's something stomping around up on the hillside back and forth up here, man. It's kind of trippy." And one of them even says, "Yeah, it sounds like it's even thumping on its chest, you know." And even though I've had a Bigfoot experience in that area before, and a possible Bigfoot experience, there's Bigfoot sightings around there. The crew thinks they're having a Bigfoot experience. I told them, well, it could be a moose walking around up there, and it might be stomping the ground in irritation. You guys, pay attention. I mean, if it's a Bigfoot, it'd probably leave you alone and just stomp around a little bit. But a moose will run people over, and they're like, "Oh no, it's not a moose," and everything. And so I'm like, "Oh, okay, whatever." I didn't hear it. I think Jenny was near him when it happened. I think she heard some of it going on.
You pointed it out, didn't you?
Yeah, I was telling Kelly, "Did you hear that?" I was like, "Did you hear that big thump, 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 thump?" And the guys in back of me were like, "Yeah, we heard it. We heard it."
2 camera guys and the light guy were all telling me about what they were hearing up overhead. But we had a scene to shoot, so we went into the scene and started shooting the scene. And while we were actually shooting the scene, down below us there was a vocalization type scream, and it reminds me exactly of the one near the 77 sighting location, and we're going to put that in there so you guys can hear what we really heard out in Palisades where we're shooting. And I guess the 3 microphones that they had running at the time, they had one external mic with the big old fluffy sock on it, and then the field producer, he had a shirt in his, a mic in his shirt, and I also had one in mine. So I don't know, maybe they didn't catch it. I don't know why they put they dubbed in a cow noise when they had that. But if you guys want to hear what we really heard, it was in there. Well, anyway, we're shooting the scene, and I come out of the script that they wanted me to go over, because I'm like, "Did you guys hear that?" And I look back, and just about everybody on the crew heard it. They were on point already looking down at it before I said it, and then they're all looking at me like, "Yeah," And I'm thinking to myself, well, good, I hope the mics picked it up. And then we went on with the scene. So, hey, they could have done so much better. When they approached me to do this, they told me that, well, first of all, they had me put them in contact with 3 other researchers. And you guys know who you are because I got a hold of you and they got a hold of you. I've already talked to you guys since, and this was a couple of years ago. But I put in contact with 3 other researchers that I like. And, well, I guess this is a great time. Mitch Wilson, not Mitch Wilson, it's the guy that just passed away, the Arizona Bigfooter. Oh I had
Wait.
Mitch
Mitch
Waite. Sorry,
Mitch just
I'm
passed
doing a
away.
shout out to Mitch Waite. And his name slipped me. But anyway, he's one of the people I put him in contact with, and a couple of you other guys that he come in contact with also. But anyway, I also put him in contact with 6 Bigfoot sighting witnesses that I had interviewed and talked to, and including Derek about Derek's accounts. And what they wanted all this information from me for was to help them with the Bigfoot Captured movie. And at the time, they didn't have a title for this TV special that they did. They told me that they had gone to the Himalayas. They had told me that they had went out and talked to Dr. Meldrum. And then they also asked me about the Mink Creek footage, because I have been to the Mink Creek Bigfoot sighting that has a video on 3 different occasions looking around Jenny and I. So they wanted to interview us about what we had seen up there. But this is what they told me the show was supposed to be about. They were going to be getting with researchers, and they were going to be getting with Bigfoot sighting witnesses, and they were going to do recreations of these people's experiences or sightings. So I knew there was going to be some recreation thing going on. You see it all the time on documentaries and stuff, and I was like, great. And I don't know what point in time that they changed it to where they were going to have a fictional background movie going on. I guess somebody thought that it would help ratings or whatever. I really think that they should have made it 2 different shows. They should have did. I love the B movies, the fictional Bigfoot stuff, and you know that's what it is before you watch it. And
It's fun. It's
yeah,
a good time.
it's fun to watch it, but when it's supposed to be a serious documentary, I just don't think you should mix the 2. They should have made it 2 separate things. They had plenty of material. They could have made a really great show with people that have had some Bigfoot sightings and their unique experiences with those sightings and stuff. So, hey, it's your guys' budget, your guys' show. I hope it did what you wanted it to do, but I think the idea that you presented to me in the beginning, I think it would have made a better show, in my opinion, if you would have stuck to just people's
Not to mention for
encounters.
some of the material they actually had within the show itself. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely would have been much better.
Yeah, Dr. Meldrum, I mean, he put his best foot forward. He put his best material out there. He put a lot of man hours in research, and his team building that 3D model skeleton. That was just awesome to put.
3D printed.
Yeah, the 3D
Yeah, it was
printed.
neat.
That's awesome, actually.
It was really interesting.
Very impressed.
Hmm.
Is that all you really wanted to say?
Yeah, that's how I was approached about the show, and I don't know why they did a 360 and put a fictional dramatization in the background on something that could have been better. If they would have followed through with their first plan, I think it would have been a much better show. Hopefully somebody else will come out with their first idea.
And to put it in context, it literally was about 2 years ago when that all happened.
Yeah.
That all went down.
It was
So
quite a long
it
time
was
ago.
quite a long time ago when that whole thing even went down. So to tag on to the whole 77 sighting location, first time ever putting a drone up at the 77 sighting location as well. We got a suspect Bigfoot suspect something that looked like it had stepped out from underneath the trees and had looked up at the drone up in the sky. So that's something else that we'll either throw a link on the to the video of it, or the breakdown of it when we saw it. When you look at it, pay attention to the shadows. That's basically where I pointed out in the breakdown. You know, the shadows don't follow natural shadows at the time. I mean, that's what's different.
Something stepped out from a tree and either looked up at the drone or just stepped out and then stepped back in. And you can tell it was large in proportion to its surroundings, and it was more Bigfoot shaped to me than anything else. I kept trying to somehow get a moose shape out of it, because its proportions and stuff to me looked like it was about as big and as wide as a moose. But as many times as I looked at it, I just can't pull any type of a moose shape out of it at any angle. So we don't know what it is, but it has a Bigfoot shape.
It's interesting, if nothing else. And again, it was the first time I had thrown squawk up in Sasquatch Canyon.
It was pretty much on the top of that mountain too.
It was cleared up on top of a ridge.
It was somewhere that would have taken us all day to hike up to and back.
Poor Squawk.
I know.
It flew away.
It's up there playing with the other sighting we had this last summer with Trey. Because it was not too far away actually from where that happened, where I lost it. So he stole my footage and my drone.
I wanted to tell you guys a little bit of what actually happened to us in Palisades back in 2012, and this is what this is the information that Committee Films seen that got them in contact with us in order to do this show Bigfoot Captured for the History Channel.
It was just a photo.
Well, it was more than the photo, it was the experience that went along with the photo.
I know, but they wanted
Jenny and I took the family on a family vacation, and we camped on the backside of Palisades as a base camp for our vacation. Targhee National Forest and Caribou National Forest that surround this area. I mean, there's a lot of Bigfoot sightings in them, but in the actual Palisades, I have not seen a Bigfoot sighting report. Not saying someone hasn't seen it there and didn't report it, but we weren't there to Bigfoot, but you know, we still keep our eye open for him.
You never know what's going to happen.
But on the second to the last day on this 7-day trip that we were out there, we decided to hike into this pass on the backside that actually you can only get to the lake on foot on the backside. And when we got near the top, that's when stuff started happening. And it was at the end of our vacation. We had been river rafting, we had been hiking our butts off, and it was a really hot day, and we started climbing up to it, and my knees started giving out at the end of this week of complete physical activity, and one of my knees was really hurting me. And I've never really wanted to back out on a hike, but I wanted to back out on this one. I told everybody, hey, my knees just hating it and stuff. I'm thinking about turning back. And we'd never been on this one, and my son was like, he didn't want to turn back. My son, he's like 20 years old at the time, and he's like, hey, Dad, I can see the top. It's just right up here. We're almost at the top and everything. And I'm like, no, we're not. I'm looking up there, and I'm like, my knees are thrashed after a week of hiking constantly and stuff. And so my son runs up ahead a little bit, and then he comes back and he goes, oh yeah, it's just right here. And he was lying to me to keep me going, because it was clear the hell up there. And we hike about another 50 yards or so, and we start hearing these vocalizations below us, and then a single vocalization up above in response. These guttural, they were guttural whoops and some grumbles and whatever else. I mean, there was a few vocalizations going on, and they were kind of going back and forth. And then, right after we hear them and stuff, and we start going on point, we find a 17-inch long footprint that had crossed the trail. And excuse me, I want to go back. This happened a while ago, but Jenny found 2 sets of footprints at this curve in the trail that come out of the brush, through this curve on the trail, and up into the tree line. and it was like a little like 7-inch footprint next to like a 12-inch footprint.
But they were barefoot.
Yeah, and we were like thinking, are these people? Is it a couple of people in?
Not barefoot as in a bear's foot, barefoot.
Yeah, no shoes.
And we were trying to blame it on people, but it was just weird. Why would people be hiking on this trail that is so steep that it was like making me want to turn back because my knees were just aching on this steep incline. So they're walking barefoot, and, you know, even though you're out there looking for Bigfoot, when you're a Bigfooter, you try to like blame it on a natural phenomenon. So hey, people up here walking barefoot. And then that's when we started getting the vocalization, and then we found the 17-inch footprint a little bit ways further, and then we're like, hey, we're probably dealing with Bigfoot here. Vocalizing on either side of us. A little
That's a
family
pretty good
pod.
sign right there.
So anyway, we started taking photos down in the ravine where we were hearing vocalizations, and we were taking photos up above us every once in a while. And we get up on top, and that's where it started intensifying. When we got up on top, we could start hearing something paralleling us and sometimes following us. And I stayed back one time to go to the bathroom from the group, let them hike up ahead, was using the bathroom, and it stomped up pretty close to me. And I couldn't see what it was, you know, if it was a moose, an elk, a Bigfoot, whatever. But I could hear it, and it would come a lot closer when I was by myself, but it wouldn't come close enough to show itself in the thickness of the trees.
Nothing like getting caught with your pants down.
And then Jenny stayed back to go to the bathroom one time, and she had a similar experience.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I actually fell over and it fell down because it scared me so bad. I whipped around because I thought for sure whatever happened is you could hear it moving, and then I just heard this big thump right behind me. It sounded like something jumped out of a tree or jumped down a hill and landed on the ground right in back of me. And so I whipped around and I fell down, and I didn't see nothing. There's nothing there.
Could have thrown like a big boulder or something.
It shook the ground.
That would have been pretty damn big then.
Yeah, it scared me. I thought I was gonna get trampled by an elk or something. But nothing was there. So I felt like a crazy person. I don't know what it was.
Not too long after that, we find a camp that's been abandoned. Someone just left their tent behind up there.
It was shredded to pieces.
Yeah, the tent looked like it'd been torn a couple of times, and it was pretty much smashed down and stuff. But yeah, somebody just had left their tent up there that had camped up there, and you know, we're just all like shrugging our shoulders, like, why would somebody leave their mess here? I don't know, maybe because they felt like they had to leave.
I don't know, I got a really bad feeling.
And then when we finally turned back and we come back and hiked past that tent again, and this trail doesn't get used that much. I mean, the trail's overgrown, and you know, it's about this wide, the dirt part of the trail.
Maybe.
So where'd you snap the picture? On the way in or on the way out?
It was on the way out.
The picture that has the weird Bigfoot shape in it with the hand and the arm. Yeah. Well, anyway, we hiked past the tent, and something had pooped on the trail. And you know, I'm telling you, the trail is only this wide.
No, it's
And so the poop wasn't there on the way in, but on the way out, something poops right on the trail, and you have that gut feeling that something's giving you a message. It's got a million acres of forest to poop anywhere it wants, and it poops right on your little trail that it probably knows you're going to be using on your way back. And I'd never seen animal or human poop that looks like this. It looked like it was 100% juniper berries.
It was like toothpaste color, like a pasty green.
And it looked like it had the consistency of potting clay, or a type of clay, but you could tell it was all a juniper berry, and the poop was so fresh that
Don't we
the
got
ground
pictures of that?
the ground was still moist around it. Yeah,
In
well,
fact, I think there's pictures on our main page of RMSO.net. You scroll down, I think the picture's there.
and then
If not, I'll put it there.
and then a ways past that, that's where we found another footprint going down into the direction of the ravine, and we still were occasionally getting these whoops coming out of the ravine. So Jenny and I kept snapping pictures down in there and zooming in with your cameras, and some of our cameras are just like binoculars for us. I mean, we zoom in better than our eyesight. So sometimes I glass with my camera and stuff, and I'm not seeing anything but taking pictures every once in a while, and so is Jenny. Excuse me. Well, when we got home and started going through all the footage and everything, we found what looked like a Bigfoot peeking around behind a tree, his whole left side shoulder, and what really sold me on it is it not being a stump or lights and shadows playing an illusion, is from about the bicep or the crook in the elbow. It's out in the sunlight. It's out of the shadows, and it looks like fur. You got an opposable thumb, 4 fingers, and the texture looks like right for fur. The texture doesn't look like bark or anything. Well, I still call it suspect
Because we don't know.
because we don't know. I mean, very well, maybe the lights were playing tricks and it looks like fur and stuff, but with everything that was going on that day with the footprints, the poop, the abandoned campsite, tore up tents,
The noises.
yeah, the vocalizations, and then the sensation of the ground shaking, when you stay back to, go to the bathroom, pee off some of the 3 liters of water you drink while you're hiking. I don't know, we may have had a Bigfoot experience, and that's one of the reasons they contacted us to do this, and then they also wanted help since they knew that we had a research site and we were researchers. They knew that we could get them in contact with people that have had Bigfoot sightings, and they had us get them in contact with other researchers. So that's what it was all about.
They were very, very nice people. Their crew was really nice.
I just don't like the direction that it turned after they went into production. They should have used their awesome suit to do recreations instead of some fictional background movie. But
That was a good suit.
That's their prerogative. They should have done 2 different shows. I mean, if they wanted to get 2 uses out of that suit.
Thumbs down on the cow. Cow noise.
Yeah, no cows
No cows.
and no raccoon.
You did flat mention that you can't even get cows back in
No.
there. So it's not even possible to have actually heard a cow back there.
Yeah, that around that Palisades lake, it's
It's
not.
a reservoir.
Yeah, it's a reservoir. They open grazing's not allowed. The last 8 years I've been going there, I've never seen anybody grazing any domesticated stock around that. So, yeah, thumbs down on the cow.
I think that's it.
Yep.
It's our story and we're sticking to it.
Thanks for watching.
Because we're going to keep on squatching.